Of you completely new to Respondus Monitor, while others may already be using it with your learning system, the integration with Hawks is a little different, so we've devoted this session today to walking through how it works, but we'll make sure to cover enough for anyone who's new to Respondus Monitor or not. Now, we'll start with a quick overview of Lockdown Browser and then a demonstration of Respondus Monitor, the instructor settings, and post-exam review. We'll also show you what it looks like to take a test as a student. We'll share some tips and best practices, and then lastly, we'll share details on the one-time setup and licensing options and answer your questions, as I mentioned. Then after this session, everyone will receive a recording via email. So this session is recorded. So with that, let's go ahead and jump in. So Lockdown Browser and Respondus Monitor make up our automated proctoring solution for higher education. These applications are used by more than 1,500 colleges and universities with hundreds of millions of exams each year all over the world. And they support many online testing scenarios at an institution. It all starts with Lockdown Browser, a custom browser that prevents cheating during online tests. It's the standard for locking down the student's device. Lockdown Browser is used in proctored settings like classrooms or testing centers, and it integrates seamlessly with Hawks Learning's web tests. In fact, Hawks Learning has supported Lockdown Browser for a few years now, so many of you may already be using it with your tests in proctored settings. Lockdown Browser can be used as a standalone application, but it's also the foundation of Respondus Monitor, our automated remote proctoring solution, which we'll show here in a bit. So to show what the browser looks like quickly, here is a web test in Lockdown Browser. You can see that it's open full screen and there's no menu bar or web address field at the top. Students cannot print, copy content, go to websites, open other applications, use function or command keys, shortcuts, or the mouse menu to share test content or access other resources. And it even stops some more sophisticated forms of digital cheating, like students using remote desktops, virtual machines, or test taker impersonation skills or tools, sorry. Students also cannot access the Start menu or System tray. But remember that the test is in Hawks, so all features of the test itself are the same: the content and questions, timing, grading, etc. When used by itself, Lockdown Browser is intended for proctored environments, such as classrooms or testing centers, and it does an excellent job at preventing digital cheating. But Lockdown Browser alone doesn't address external resources or student identity. And that's where Respondus Monitor comes in. So Respondus Monitor is a fully automated proctoring solution available anytime, anywhere. It builds on the power of Lockdown Browser, but it is used for non-proctored settings. Respondus Monitor uses the student's own webcam to record their exam session, and then Respondus Monitor analyzes the video and exam session to provide meaningful results to instructors. The instructor is provided with a simple report that conveys the risk level for the session, which increases if it detects a possible violation or if the data is too poor of quality to make a good assessment. A flagging system is used to know problem areas and show them on a timeline. But keep in mind that only the instructor can see the video and student data. And as you'll see in a moment, the entire student exam video is available to instructors and any flag can be investigated further. But the biggest value of Respondus Monitor is its deterrence factor. Students are much less likely to try to cheat if there is a good chance of getting caught and if the penalties for cheating are high. It's a seamless experience for instructors who can set up the tool, modify the settings for the exam, and review post-exam results right within the online course. So we'll talk in a bit about the options for licensing Respondus Monitor with Hawks Learning, and there is a one-time setup for your Hawks Learning administrator to do, but let's assume that that's already done. So once the license is set up, and we can apply the Lockdown Browser and Respondus Monitor settings to Hawk's Learning web tests, and I'll walk you through that process and reviewing the class results from an exam that required Respondus Monitor. So I'm going to switch my screen now to Hawk's Learning, where I'm logged in as an instructor. And Lockdown Browser and Respondus Monitor can be required while you're creating the exam or editing it later. So I'm going to go into my course here. Oh, I might be logged in incorrectly. One moment. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to go into my course now, where I already have a few tests created. I'll navigate to assignments, then to manage, and into my web tests. From here, I'm going to view by test. So if you're view by section, then switch it over here to view by tests. And then I'm going to click on the test that I want to enable Lockdown Browser and Respondus Monitor. And I'm going to then click into additional settings here. So here you'll see the Lockdown Browser setting and some additional options. Those include enabling a calculator, the ability to allow students to access outside websites when a link is provided in the test content, and other web test settings. So once Lockdown Browser is required, Respondus Monitor can also be required for the test here. And then I'll press Save Changes. So now the settings for Respondus Monitor can be additionally modified from the Respondus Monitor dashboard. So instructors can get to that from the main web tests page. So I'm going to go back here to my web tests. And now here I'm going to view by section. And you'll see this Respondus Monitor column with this little webcam icon. So when you press on that webcam icon, it will open up that Respondus Monitor dashboard, which is where instructors can further customize the Respondus Monitor settings and see the proctoring results. Now note that the remainder, also note the reminder here at the top of this dashboard page with how to get to that initial setting where we enabled Lockdown Browser and Respondus Monitor. So I'm going to now go through the different advanced settings that you have available here. So I'm going to press Advanced Settings. Now first here, you'll see that you have the option of selecting webcam only or webcam plus screen. Webcam only will of course record the student and the environment around them. And then additionally, plus screen, it will record the student's screen itself. So you can potentially watch them take the exam, which is helpful if you need to view and verify any technical issues that a student has reported, or if you want to just better understand how a student answered a question. Now next here, there is a list of steps that students may be required to finish before they can start the exam. This is the startup sequence steps. So you can pick and choose from most of these which you would like to use. And then a few of them you'll see that you can edit the instructions on. Now down here at the bottom, or I do want to talk about a few important ones here, sorry. So first starting with this webcam check. So the webcam check will check that students have a webcam and of course that it's working. So this will check things like the student's internet, their audio, as we do record sound, and some other technical requirements on the back end. It's also one of the places that students can get technical support should they come across any issues, and I'll be sure to point that out here soon when we take a look at the student's perspective. And then down here at the bottom is the face detection check, which is a feature of Respondus Monitor that will make sure a student's face is visible in the video, as we of course need to see students during the exam to ensure that they're alone, not using outside resources, etc. So this just makes sure that we can see the student's face. And you'll notice down here that there are a few face detection options that you can change here. Now this proctoring setting here, this allows instructors to give some flexibility to students as to where they can take tests. So using this setting will give the student a choice of using Respondus Monitor with a webcam and Lockdown Browser without a proctor, or going into a proctored location such as a testing center. If they choose the proctored location, a password will be required. The instructor would simply set that up here and then provide that to the proctor as needed. Now, a few helpful newer settings here under advanced settings include the ability to require students to take photos of any handwritten work. So the show your work feature here can capture up to 20 photos full size after an exam that required Respondus monitor. And I do have a few examples of this that I'll show you here soon. And then this new setting here allows students to use Microsoft Excel during an exam that requires Respondus monitor and screen recording. This will work on Windows and Mac computers, and students can either open an Excel file to work in or use a file provided by the instructor. So now that my settings are selected, I'm going to go ahead and press Save and Close here. And then after an exam, to review the post-exam data, you can do that from the same dashboard here under proctoring results. And those results are generally available in about 5 to 10 minutes after the student submits the exam. So I'm going to switch my screen here where I have some actual examples. So give me one moment. There we go. Sorry about that delay. There we go. So here within the class results, or within the proctored results, once you've selected that, you'll see your class roster with the associated data for each student's exam video. And you'll notice first that your students are organized by the review priority ranking column here, which puts students' videos into a simple ranking system, high, medium, or low, and that's based on a few factors from each video. And this is a great indicator for instructors to use to identify which exam sessions might require deeper scrutiny. Some other useful data points here might include the duration of the exam and the student's grade, which is good information to have handy when you're looking at all of the details as a whole. And you can sort by these columns if needed or helpful as well. Now, in many cases, anything more than a cursory scan here isn't necessary. The goal is to provide meaningful results and not simply a list of flagged events that require instructors to analyze everything themselves. Remember that Respondus Monitor is a powerful deterrent to cheating. Students know that they're being recorded and are therefore less likely to cheat. But if something suspicious does show up, then it's very easy to dig in deeper. So really, instructors spend an average of about 15 seconds per student reviewing the data here, but you can always dig in deeper if you need to, similar to like surveillance cameras, by opening the student's video using this plus sign here. So here you get the full video and more data about the exam session. So you have the video player here where you can watch the video, and you can manipulate this by jumping around, making it play at a faster speed, etc. Now this session required the screen recording within the settings, so you can see that I can easily toggle back and forth between that webcam view and that screen recording view, and any flags, thumbnails, etc. will be time-stamped at the same time when you switch back and forth between those views. Now these red areas here correspond with the time-stamped flags of suspicious events, which for example might be when the student is missing from the video. And you can hover over these explain links here to learn more about those flags. You can also just jump directly to those portions of the video by selecting that timestamp. Now at the bottom here, you'll see a bunch of random thumbnails taken throughout the video, which offer a quick way to scan the video. So say in one here, you see the student is looking away. You can just quickly click on that thumbnail and then watch that portion of the video. And then right up top of these thumbnails, you'll see the results of the pre-exam startup sequence, depending on which ones you've selected to enable. So you can see the student's photo here, the student's ID, the environment video, and that pre-exam video. Now, I know this is a bunch of information, but luckily there is a great built-in guide right up top here called Understanding Proctoring Results. And this will go over those class results again and some frequently asked questions like how is that review priority determined, some more about the different flags and milestones, sensitivity levels, and that handheld device flag, and some important tips here at the bottom. And also notice at the top that there is a feature that allows instructors to adjust the sensitivity level for the ranking and flagging system. So for example, you might want to choose relaxed if you're doing an open book exam. And once you've selected relaxed and hit apply here, it's going to recalculate the flagging and ranking system. And there is also a new setting here that can alert instructors when a device is detected in the student's hand during an online exam. So the handheld device flag is a post-exam setting that can be toggled off if needed, such as maybe you're doing an exam that allows external calculators. So you'll just uncheck it here and hit apply. And again, you can learn some more about those options within this Understanding Proctoring Results guide. Okay, so now that we have seen how to set up a test to require Respondus Monitor and how to view the proctoring results, let's see how this works from the student's perspective. So, students will need to one-time download and install Lockdown Browser to their device. The browser itself is unique to Hawk's courses, meaning it's not the same as what students would use for Blackboard, Canvas exams, other LMSs, etc. There is also a managed installer available from Hawks directly for deployment to manage devices like in a computer lab or a testing center. And supported devices for Hawks Learning web tests are Windows, Mac, and Chromebooks. Now, Lockdown Browser automatically launches from Hawks Learning web tests, so it's a seamless student experience. And of course, students will just additionally need a webcam, and that can be internally built into their device or an external webcam. So students using Respondus Monitor would simply follow the same steps to their exam if they're using Lockdown Browser alone. So they'll log into the Hawks course and navigate to the test. And they can use any browser that they normally would use with courses in Hawks. If they haven't yet, then students need to first install Lockdown Browser from within the Hawks course. So that download link and a way to test it are built right here in the Hawks course itself. Now in this case, the browser is already installed, so I can launch the browser and the quiz from here. Now with Respondus Monitor, students will first have to complete the pre-exam startup sequence, which includes a webcam check like this. At this point, if they come across any issues here, then there is this built-in "it's not working" link here that students can use to identify the issue that they are having, get some troubleshooting steps, and if needed, then they can also chat with a live agent. Now, our live agents are available 24/7, 365 days a year. They're highly trained and ready to help. And yes, they are real people. They are not bots. So when students have completed any troubleshooting, if needed, then they're just going to continue through the steps here on the left-hand side. And remember that steps 3 through 7 are optional. So you might choose to include steps like providing students with additional instructions, like this here. Or you can share our guidelines and tips, such as making sure their internet connection is strong, etc. And you might choose a step here to have students take a photo of their ID to help verify the student's identity. And then you can review that photo within the proctoring results. But once students have finished these pre-exam steps, the exam will start. And remember that we are still using Lockdown Browser, so students can't access other digital resources on that device. And notice that the student is being recorded now as indicated by the icon here in the upper right. And then at the end, when the student submits the exam for grading, the video recording automatically ends. So then at that point, if you required that show your work feature Then the students will take photos of their written work. So they would hold that up to the camera and take a picture of it. And if that photo looks good, then they'll select to use that photo. And then again here, they can submit up to 20 photos for you to review within the proctoring results. And then at that point, students can exit Lockdown Browser. So that's the full student experience with Lockdown Browser and Respondus Monitor. Now, an important question that often comes up when using proctoring tools relates to student privacy. Respondus uses privacy by design, an approach that places privacy and security at the center of everything we do. For example, Respondus Monitor will only gather and store the least amount of data needed to effectively proctor and analyze the exam sessions. One important note, only the instructor can view the data and videos for an exam session, and only when logged in to Hawk's Learning. Respondus doesn't watch students during an exam, nor do we have staff who pop in on students, as students find that invasive and it increases the risk that personal data can be compromised. Now, Respondus Monitor has been vetted by countless institutions and some of the largest online programs in the world. And for details, you can visit our privacy center at respondus.com/privacy. Now, there are a few ways to license Respondus Monitor for Hawk's Learning. The first is to link to your institution's existing Respondus Monitor license. So if your institution has an unlimited license for Respondus Monitor, there's no worry about adding costs for using other platforms like Hawk's. This requires that the Hawk's Learning Administrator enter the Respondus Institution ID, which any institution with the license from Respondus will have. The institution ID is found in the Respondus Administrator area, and instructions can be found at respondus.com/hawks. The other option is to have students pay a fee directly. The student payment license provides students unlimited use of Respondus Monitor within the Hawk's Learning course. The total cost is $10 and can be purchased by credit card, debit card, or PayPal. Students are prompted for payment the first time they encounter a test in the course that requires Respondus Monitor proctoring. Now, additional resources are on our website, including instructions for setting up the license and frequently asked questions. As we showed earlier, Respondus also offers 24/7, 365 days a year live chat that's available for students, built right into the application. And there's also a traditional ticket-based support system for administrators, staff, and instructors. And then lastly, but most importantly, instructors should make sure they've provided students with a practice quiz to ensure the first exam using Respondus Monitor runs smoothly. This allows students to check for any issues, ask questions, and ensure they understand your expectations and rules for the exam well in advance. So with that, a few reminders. You can learn more on our website at respondus.com/hawks. There is our email, training@respondus.com. So if you think of a question later on, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And then again, this session was recorded, so you can receive that recording. You will receive that recording via email. Now, we've had some other trainers, as I've mentioned, on the call answering your questions in writing. So check back to that questions pane in case you've gotten a written response. But I'm also now going to call on one of those trainers to see what questions we can answer for you out loud. So Rebecca, are you there?
Hi, Julia. Hey, everyone. We've got a couple of questions. So let's start with, I'd like to learn if you have a guide about your proctoring results, maybe something I can reference since I'm new to using Respondus Monitor.
Yeah, great question. I think I quickly pointed this out, so let me switch my screen again. There we go. So within the proctoring results here, you'll see this built-in guide right up top called Understanding Proctoring Results. And again, this will go over the class results again. It will point out the different areas here and label them for you. There's also some frequently asked questions here, such as how is that review priority determined? You can see a list of the different flags and milestones you might see in the proctoring results. You can learn more about the different sensitivity levels, that high, medium, or low. Oh no, sorry, that's the strict, standard, or relaxed. But you can learn more about those sensitivity levels here, how that would recalculate the proctoring results. You can learn more about the handheld device flag here. And also, there are some great important tips here at the bottom. For example, such as keeping in mind that flags aren't necessarily cheating. They're just one of the many data points available to you to help you review the class results to ensure there weren't any academic integrity issues during the exam. So yes, this is a really great resource. I highly suggest you review it before you dive into your students' proctoring results. Great question.
Great, thanks, Julia. Just a moment ago, you showed a sensitivity drop-down menu. In what situation may I use relax?
Yeah, let me pull that back up again in our proctoring results. Switch back here, wrong screen. Okay, so here are those sensitivity levels. So you'll see there's relaxed, standard, and strict. So you might want to select relaxed if maybe you're doing an open book exam. So you know students will be looking away often. So once you've selected relaxed and hit apply here, it will recalculate that review priority and flagging system. So you might see less related flags due to your students looking away at those external resources. Now, of course, keep in mind that the opposite might be true if you want to select strict. Maybe there are no external resources that the students are allowed to use, so you would want to see any more potential flags, related to students looking away. Great question.
Great. Julia, while you're there, somebody noticed that your box for handheld device was not checked. So their question is that on by default, or should I check that box if I want to apply that setting?
Yeah, great question. So the handheld device flag is on by default. Now, again, you might want to, within the proctoring results here, turn it off and hit apply here if maybe you're doing an exam that, a math exam that you allow them to use a calculator with. So you don't want to see any flags of them holding that calculator. So you can turn that off within the proctoring results here, but it is on by default. So you would see those flags by default. Great question.
Awesome. How about the next question is, are there any resources out on your website to help me get started after today's session?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So again, this website here, respondus.com/hawks is a great resource. And I can just pull that up really quickly to show you one moment. So this resource here, respondus.com/hawks, will go over the different licensing option, frequently asked questions. There's some training resources here, etc. So this is a great place to get started.
Great,
Awesome.
thanks for sharing, Julia. That was all of our questions today, and we're at the top of our time, so I'm going to go ahead and let you wrap up.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for asking those questions out loud. And thank you all for joining. Again, don't hesitate to reach out to us at training@respondus.com if you do think of a question later on. We're here to support you. So thank you all so much for your time. I hope it was helpful, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Bye, everyone.